and welcome to Murder Dictionary Podcast. My name is Brianna, and that is Kelly.
I've changed my name to Steve, so get with it.
Welcome, Steve. It's good to have you.
Hi.
So before we get started, I just wanted to remind you of a few things that you'll find in our show notes. First of all, there will be links to our social media.
Introducing the Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited 5% back on everything you buy at Walmart online. It's the perfect card for all your family's hints this holiday season. Like 5% back on the air fryer Grandpa told you about when he fell asleep in his chair.
They don't fry anything.
Or 5% back on the laptop your sister had carolers sing to you.
2 turtle doves and a laptop for Carrie.
The Capital One Walmart Rewards Card. Earn unlimited rewards, including 5% back at Walmart online. What's in your wallet?
Terms and exclusions apply. Capital One N.A.
Yeah, so if you wanted to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, that would be awesome. If you want to skip any parts of the story that are kind of gruesome or gory, if that's not your thing, we put timestamps in the description as well, if you wanted to do that. We also have links to some of the research materials, so if you wanted to go back and look into the stories and read along a little bit more.
Fact check.
Yeah. Also, we have some merch and bonus stuff, so if you wanted to get access to bonus episodes and a couple small merch items like stickers and buttons and stuff like that, you can check out our Patreon, and that is going to be linked in the show notes, and it's going to be patreon.com/Murder Dictionary Podcast. And if you wanted some larger merch items like t-shirts, mugs, phone cases, and housewares and stuff like that, you can check out Threadless, and that's murderdictionary.threadless.com. That is the first time I've gotten it right.
You nailed it.
New year, new me.
So good. You're so good right now. Shout out to everyone on the weed farm.
Yes.
Heaven.
If you guys saw that picture, Puffin Farms took pictures with Christmas gifts. A couple people from there got the mugs for everybody at the farm. So we got some pictures of weeds and mugs.
I shed a tear and got wet at the same time.
It was so beautiful, man.
It's like the best Christmas ever. So thanks, y'all.
So we love to see those pictures. It's really awesome. And also, like we said like a couple weeks ago, like we love to see that people are sharing the show together.
Yes.
That's so badass, just listening together or telling a friend about it. So we really appreciate that. It's really awesome.
I listen to the podcast with my friends in the car and I just tell them to shut the fuck up and I turn it up and make sure I don't hear them.
I listen to it and just force people and just stare at them awkwardly,
it's
looking
funny,
for
huh?
the reaction.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear me? No, but Brianna's the funny one. I tell everyone. 2018.
The year of the forcible podcast.
Non-consensual podcast.
And I guess one more thing is in this description, we always put links to resources for like domestic violence and 12-step programs and some mental health stuff. Just in case people want to quickly access those things, we link them in the show notes.
It's fucking story time. I have been waiting. Withdrawals. I got all itchy.
Oh, you know what? I already forgot something. I forgot to thank our Patreon people.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I can't believe I forgot
names.
that. I'm such a dick. Sorry, guys. So we've got a few new people on Patreon this week. We've got Joe, Kat, Carrie, Jenny, Carissa, Robert, and Rebecca.
Shout out to my friends Joe, Kat, Carrie, Clarissa, Carissa, Bill Gates, Phil Lates, and Robert. Did we say Robert?
Robert.
And Pat.
You really made up a lot of them this time.
Fuck.
Joe, Kat, Carrie, Jenny, Carissa, Robert, Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for the
Thank you,
Patreon
guys.
support. And on that note, I also wanted to say one of the options on Patreon is that you can choose one of our stories. At a certain tier of Patreon support, you get to send over a case to us. And the one that we're doing tonight was from Robert.
What? So Robert paid $2,000 to get this story.
A bargain, really. I mean, really a bargain at any price.
Almost a Groupon price.
That's heavily discounted, you know?
Fuck yeah, Robert. Let's see what you got.
So thank you so much to Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
And he picked a fucking badass case.
Yeah.
And it's a case where I kind of has to editorialize a little bit and give my opinion, but that's okay because the bitch did it.
I love when you give your opinion. Like when you whisper it in my ear.
Very softly. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. This is...
She sucks.
She's a murderer. We are going to be talking about Ted Binion and Sandy Murphy. Does this ring any bells?
They're my fucking neighbors.
Your face like lit up almost.
Like, those are that's my uncle and my aunt.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Uncle Binion. Uncle B.
Are you familiar with the name Binions?
Like Minions, like the Pixar.
No, Binions with a B.
Like Bunions? Because I have bunions.
But Bunions with an I. Well, I can get into it, but I thought it might ring some bells for you because it's a Vegas thing.
Vegas. That's honestly, yeah, it reminds me of Vegas for some reason.
Yes,
I don't know why.
because of the casino named Binions. We're going to learn a little bit about it right meow. So first of all, we'll just start off with Sandy. So Sandy Murphy, she grew up here in LA in the suburb of Downey, beautiful Downey, California.
Ooh.
In the 70s and spent most of her time at the beach. She was kind of a beach bunny type girl. Her father was a repo man and her mother was a stay-at-home mom.
My mom was a repo mom and my dad was a stay-at-home dad. Like, no joke.
Really?
No, but my dad wasn't a stay-at-home dad, but I did go on repos with my mom.
That I did not know.
Fucking weird, dude.
That sounds really crazy.
She just smoked Marlboro Reds and just stalk people, basically.
I
I'd sit in the car.
Feel like that's half of the job description of being a repo woman is Marlboro Reds.
Yeah, of course. Windows up.
Oh, yes. It's good for children. Builds strong lungs.
I'm so smart, too.
They were a middle-class family who lived pretty modestly. Sandy says that her parents were really hardworking and they always made family a priority. While her father financially supported the family, her mother was on the PTA. She was making sure all the kids were active and in extracurriculars. She was total like soccer mom. And Sandy was the only daughter in her family. So they treated her kind of like a princess.
Mm-hmm.
She was
she deserves.
Pretty spoiled. She was very girly and she did beauty pageants through most of her childhood. At 17, Sandy was even the runner-up of the Miss Bellflower pageant.
Where the fuck is the barf cauldron? I haven't seen it in 2018, but...
New year, new barf cauldron.
Ugh.
I emptied it. So she was also extremely competitive and she played sports all through her childhood as well. So she kind of had this duality. She was definitely competitive in every aspect. Whatever she could compete with people in, she would do it.
Yeah, would you say all she wants to do is win?
Win. You guys have so much in common. Please don't murder me. So Sandy had a seemingly great childhood. And really the only dark point that really she had was that she was raped twice when she was a teenager. And I don't really know the details. It was just kind of a sideline. There was no person that was ever charged or anything. It was just something that was very influential on her because it was a very traumatic event. But everything else was a very normal, like LA suburban childhood. While she was still in high school, she started a business with a family friend selling aftermarket auto parts.
What the fuck?
When I saw that, I had the same reaction.
How
do you get into that at like 16? That's so weird.
Yeah, someone gave her the idea, right? Did she just come up with it?
Or just was like, hey, you got 5 on this?
Yeah.
And then she just pitched in?
Hey, you know what we could mark up and make profit off of? Car parts. I love this girl.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. She spent so much time on her new business that she actually couldn't keep up in school, and she ended up dropping out in her senior year.
Good, because money.
I mean, really, that's what it's about. If you can fully support yourself when you're still a kid, any teenager would probably drop out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The next couple years, she lived with an older boyfriend at his beach house. She had a few minor run-ins with the law during this time, including a drunk driving conviction. But mostly she was just kind of a young beach party girl for a few years after high school. In February 1994, when Sandy was only 21, she decided to move to beautiful Las Vegas.
Woo!
Which I thought of doing pretty much every year since I turned 21.
You have? Yeah, no, you're meant to be in Vegas.
I really want to. One of these days, kid, I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, I want to follow you. I'm going to follow you like a puppy.
So Sandy and a girlfriend packed up their belongings and drove to Vegas for a fresh start. Sandy had some savings from the business she had, and she brought $15,000 to Vegas with her.
I'm sorry, how much did you just say?
$15K. Racks on racks. Yeah, I don't think I had $15 to my name at 21.
And she did she bring it in like gold bullion,
Right.
whatever that is, fucking binions, or did she bring in hard cash? Or
I think hard cash is what it sounds like, because she, as soon as she arrived, she started gambling pretty heavily. And she lost her entire savings playing blackjack at Caesars.
At least it wasn't slots.
I was going to say, like, we go hard on some penny slots, you and I.
All
so
day.
I don't know. It could have been worse. That would have been an embarrassing story. How'd you lose all your money? Oh, I dream of genie penny slots.
It's all about Wheel of Fortune. So
I know.
that's like the expensive shit, though. There's no.
Yeah, you got to put dollars in, singles one at a time. So accounts vary at this point. At first, Sandy said that she decided to make her money back by selling lingerie, so she went to strip clubs to sell her lingerie. I see the skepticism washing over your face because you know something's not right about that.
I just thought she was gonna steal it from the strippers, so she could. Because how do you acquire lingerie if you're broke?
Right? Who knows how things happen in Vegas? It's magic. It's Vegas magic.
She could be a seamstress.
There's stripper clothes just growing on trees in Vegas. So in later interviews, she said that while she was selling the lingerie, she also, quote, modeled it in the strip clubs. Okay, Bish. But others say she was actually a dancer and possibly even did some part-time stripping in Vegas before she moved there from LA. Like she was one of the weekend warrior kind of girls,
Good
you
for
know?
her, man.
Which we talk about doing all the time.
all the time. She's like, I'm just gonna model this on the pole just to see. Let me just.
It
go
looks
upside-
best when I spin. This is modeled best when you can see my ass clapping and just see the little string in between.
How
Watch
else-
it wink at you.
How else do you model fringe?
I mean, really, you have to shake it. It's the rules of fringe. No matter which account is accurate, the one thing we do know is that she was at Cheetah's strip club and trying to make back the money she lost one way or another, whatever that is. While she was working at Cheetah's, she met 51-year-old Ted Binion. Ted took a liking to Sandy and started pursuing her outside the strip club. So now that we've gotten to know Sandy a little bit, we can kind of switch our attention over to Ted and learn a little bit about his story. We'll come back to Sandy. Cool?
Tell me about Ted.
So Ted Binion was really well off because his father, Benny, was one of the founders of early Las Vegas gambling.
Benny Binion.
Yes.
Oh, fuckable.
I wish I had a picture to show you.
Doesn't matter.
That name. You had me at the double B's. Ted's father, Benny, was from Texas, where he owned illegal gambling clubs. In the 1940s, illegal Texas gambling scene was really violent, and it was always kind of a risk that Benny could get in trouble with the law or get in trouble with any of his competitors, you know? Benny was definitely not an innocent bystander in the violence. He was a very active participant in the gambling issues that were going on. Benny was nicknamed Cowboy because he was always dressed like a cowboy and always carried a gun with him.
Panties drop.
It's your boo. Legend has it that Benny shot at least 2 business rivals himself and also had his, quote, associates intimidate many others.
Well, they shouldn't try and be better than him. So,
So you're bad. You should have known.
idiots.
Game recognized game. So Benny figured it would be best for his wife and kids if he got out of the illegal Texas business and went legit. So in 1951, he packed up $2 million in a suitcase and put his family in a car and relocated to Vegas.
$2 million in a suitcase?
Yep, no big deal.
Hmm.
Even after leaving, he continued to control several rackets back in Texas, and he collected money from his business ventures there for a long time to come. In Vegas, Benny opened Binion's Horseshoe Club on Fremont Street.
Fucking Fremont.
Fucking love Fremont. I know people love the Strip, but I don't know. There's something real special about Fremont.
It is special.
It's like going to Hollywood and Highland, but there's gambling and tits,
Yes.
So it's beautiful.
Ziplining too.
And ziplining. Benny boasted that his casino had the world's best odds, and he never flinched from covering a bet. So high rollers in particular were really drawn to Binion's Horseshoe because of their no-limit policy. So anytime someone walked in, if they just came and they're like, I want to bet $1 million on this, he always took that bet, which was kind of virtually unheard of at the time.
I want to bet my firstborn.
Right?
Match me.
Benny pioneered the Vegas tradition that players drink for free.
No way.
Yes.
You are a god.
Thank you, Benny.
Thank you, Benny.
We appreciate you. He also started the tradition of really cheap food, like $2 steaks, and he wanted every aspect of his casino to be designed to keep patrons spending money. He wanted people to stay gambling and not have any reason to leave or take breaks or anything.
I'm
He's
just
smart.
amazed. Yeah. Thank you, Benny, for the rolling blackouts of 2007, 9, my tummy of 2012. And
So for years, the Horseshoe didn't even have a hotel. It was just a casino. There was hotels springing up around the Horseshoe, but he refused. There was actually a cute little story about how Steve Wynn told Benny about his plan to build a really fancy hotel across the street called the Golden Nugget. And Benny basically just put his arm around Steve Wynn's shoulder and said, "That's great. They can sleep at your place and they can gamble at mine."
Oh man.
Which is so adorable.
That's pretty adorable.
And of course, I mean, Steve Wynn went on to have the Mirage, Treasure Island, Bellagio, Wynn, Encore, all sorts of shit. That's Steve Wynn. But in the beginning, there was just these little guys trying to make it work with these casinos. And that was his tactic, was just keep them gambling. He didn't worry about the hotel stuff or anything else.
Fucking love him.
A man after my own heart. Over time, the casino became more successful, and in 1960, Benny bought the property next door and he expanded the casino. In the early 60s, Benny Binion's illegal ventures came back to haunt him, and he was hit with tax evasion and gambling charges from his mob days back in Texas. He was sent to prison for 42 months, like 3.5 years. And in 1957, he got out of prison, but his criminal record prevented him from holding a gambling license. So he had to be kind of taken out of the business.
Can he put everything in his mom's name?
Kind of. So since he couldn't have a gaming license, his sons Jack and Ted took over Binion's Horseshoe. I mean, mom would have been a great choice.
Yeah.
But when you're short a mom, just add 2 sons. the fractions add up, you know?
Yeah, usually your moms won't fuck you over, but like your sons, that's like
Yeah.
it's rolling the dice.
You never know. Benny remained on the payroll as like a consultant, but Jack became president of the Horseshoe and Ted became the casino manager. Ted was only 21 years old and he was running one of the biggest gambling operations in Vegas. It's crazy. For the next 30 years, Ted was the face of Binion's. He could always be found on the casino floor. He was chatting up customers. He was greeting people. When you thought of Binion's, you thought of Ted, basically. Ted also became the host of Binion's poker tournaments, and in 1970, he founded the World Series of Poker.
Oh, shit.
Which, of course, got crazy popular.
You fucking learned with this story.
Right?
Way to go, Robert. And,
I know.
and
Robert killed it with this one.
Yeah, you did like the research or whatever.
I mean, no
you're
big deal.
Kind of there. But...
It was only like 20 hours of my life.
So thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert. So over the next few decades, the World Series of Poker grew to enormous popularity and got a ton of media coverage. Ted Binion loved his notoriety and, of course, the Vegas lifestyle, which we all love. And he just started partying, gambling, and rubbing elbows with celebrities and attractive women. That was just Ted Binion.
Standard.
Yeah, he's like the person you thought of when you thought of going to Vegas and living the Vegas life. That's what he was doing. Ted was also had this other side where he was an avid reader, he was a history buff, and he was a coin collector. He was extremely intelligent when it came to math, which you kind of have to be with gambling, and people could tell how smart he was by how quickly he was able to just calculate odds in his head and also calculate payouts when people won. Like, he could just do the math so quickly and so easily. Ted kept a large amounts of cash and valuables on his properties. And he sometimes buried his money because he believed the only way to keep it safe was to bury it.
Was to lose it.
Right?
Forget where you put it.
Keep it somewhere where people can physically take it from you. He was known to help people when they were struggling financially. He always, of course, that's one of the side effects of having large amounts of cash on hand at all times, is people know that they can come to you for favors. So he would often just grab money from his home or from the vault in the casino and just give it to his friends if they needed something.
Where do we find friends like this?
Yeah, I know, right? I need a Ted.
Can I borrow $1?
I can spot you $1. I got you for like $1 or a bowl, or like I could maybe make you a PB&J.
Oh my God. So
$1.50 is kind of pushing it for me.
Okay.
Just being real.
Tap out.
I can't cover that bet. They ain't no Binions.
Fucking poor piece of shit.
That's me.
That's us.
So the problem is Ted had an enormous drug problem, and he also still kept his ties with the mob that his dad had formed back in the day.
Whoa.
So yeah.
What's the problem?
Right. I fail to see an issue with this. I mean, it sounds fun, but if you're trying to hold a gaming license, you're going to get the Vice Squad coming after you.
Oh, shit.
So Ted was arrested in 1986 for drug possession, and police began keeping an eye on him, and they thought that he could lead them to other drug kingpins. Like, they wanted him to turn over, become a rat, and lead them to other people that were bigger in the mob or bigger in the drug business.
Do you know a Mr. Escobar?
Oh yeah, Mr. E, we go way back. After his drug arrest, the Nevada Gaming Commission also started keeping a pretty close eye on him. So even though he didn't turn over and give any information, they started surveilling him, they started kind of keeping tabs on him, and he was definitely under a lot of scrutiny. In 1987, he was convicted of drug trafficking, and his gaming license was suspended temporarily. In 1990, the FBI charged Ted and 7 other Horseshoe employees with beating and robbing players that they had suspected of cheating in blackjack. It's kind of suspected, though, that this incident may have had more to do with racism than truly the risk of cheating. All of the people involved on the side of the horseshoe were white, and every person that was a victim in this was black. So
No.
they say that they caught them cheating,
Doesn't sound like racism.
but that's me editorializing a little bit. Like,
It definitely was.
I don't know.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Federal prosecutors mishandled the case and it never went to trial, but Ted had his gaming license suspended temporarily again. He got it back in 1993, but it was suspended again the following year for 18 months.
Because of another race riot?
Right? It's just over and over again. It's just one thing after another. It's the mob, it's the drugs, it's violence, just...
It's a good thing there's not like a 3-strike law because they just keep giving it back to him.
I know. I'm kind of amazed that it kept getting suspended. I would think that you have one opportunity to be suspended and then it's just revoked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. So the problem was no longer just drugs. This time, the Gambling Commission was concerned that Ted was still tied into the mob. In 1996, the Gaming Commission banned Ted from any management role in the horseshoe and required him to do drug testing. For the duration of his suspension, he was banned from even entering the family casino. He couldn't even step foot inside.
He's just next door at the Nugget, just looking in.
Just crying. He's got tears and he's standing there.
Eating his $2
The zip lines are going above him. At one point, Ted shaved off every hair on his body to avoid submitting a hair sample for his drug test.
Did he do his eyebrows? Because if not, you're a fucking idiot.
I actually know another person that did that. I don't know why it came out, but randomly he was just like, yeah, I shaved my entire body for a drug test. I was like, that's pretty fucked up, man.
That's pretty suspicious.
Right? Like, you don't think you're going to walk in there and people are going to be like, hey, Powder, what's up with you?
So when did you get cancer?
And it's amazing how bad people look without eyebrows.
Oh my God. Yes.
My boyfriend in junior high had purple hair and he dyed his eyebrows purple too. And then got in trouble at school and his parents made him shave everything off. It was a real bad couple of months for his face.
Why would that be the fucking answer? Like, hey, just shave it all off.
Just take it away.
You want to look stupid, you're going to look real
because
stupid.
Black hair dye does not exist. You can't just dye over that. It's never been invented. Around this time, Ted met Sandy Murphy at Cheetah Strip Club like we talked about, and they began dating. Sandy says that Ted pursued her relentlessly and wanted to spend all of his time with her. When Ted's estranged wife learned about Sandy, she decided to pack up, take their daughter, and leave for Texas. Sandy wasted no time and quickly moved into Ted's extravagant mansion, of course.
What did the wife think was going to happen?
It's crazy.
Who wouldn't? Moving in on the first day. The minute he says, I like your fringe, I'm fucking...
Sick fringe. Oh, can I move in? I mean, I could sign the lease or whatever.
My toothbrush is the pink one.
If I was the wife, I would refuse to move for shit. Just like, oh, you want to have a side piece? I'll show you. I'm just going to start spending more. I'm going to make you miserable.
She's estranged, okay? And I bet you she gets alimony if they get divorced. So
Yeah. I'd just be so mad. So he gave Sandy a Mercedes and a credit card with a $10,000 limit, which she reportedly spent an average of $5,000 a month once they were together.
Fucking amateur. A month?
This was in what, the 80s, late 80s or whatever, so I don't know.
They didn't have online shopping.
Oh,
that makes sense.
If Amazon existed,
He'd be
it would have been pretty bad. Yeah, it was like, I guess, early 90s. So I didn't do the conversion for $5,000 a month, but you know, that's a whole lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
It's a whole lot of ramen bricks.
Oh.
So Sandy, as soon as she moved in, also started remodeling his house. She replaced the bedroom furniture with handmade set she ordered from Italy, and she ripped out the carpet and replaced it with marble.
Yeah. Did you fuck your wife on this carpet? It's gotta go. Did
Yeah.
you fuck your wife on that couch? Gotta go.
That I understand.
Understandable.
Yeah. I don't want no sprinkles of old bitch on this.
Yeah. Where was your child conceived? That's definitely gotta go.
Oh, God. So Sandy also began overseeing his money management, monitoring his phone calls, and nagging him to put her in his will. Normal behavior. The amended will left Sandy over $300,000 plus the house and everything in it. Now, the important thing about that is you got to remember Ted kept a lot of money on him in vaults, buried, all that stuff. So the $300K is a lot, but what was actually inside the house was probably just as much.
You would catch me with a metal detector outside every day.
Fuck yeah. All the time. The rest of the money and silver from his vault was supposed to go to his daughter.
Boo.
That's no fun. Ted's daughter and the rest of the Binion family, of course, disliked Sandy from the start. Here comes this, 23-year-old with a 50-year-old guy. So they were very skeptical about her motivation.
Well, haters are going to hate on real love. So.
His sister said Sandy openly said she wouldn't date Ted if he didn't have money.
And she's honest. Where are you going to find a girl that doesn't lie like that?
I appreciate your integrity, Sandy. His daughter Bonnie said that Sandy called her a bitch and was threatened by their relationship.
What a tattletale. She called me a bitch.
Once they were living together, Sandy said she was shocked to find out that Ted had a drug problem. I don't buy this one fucking bit. The nature of drug use and the kind of drug use he was doing means he was getting high all the time. And I really highly doubt that she didn't know that he was using drugs beforehand.
He was snorting lines off her ass crack, using
in the
fringe.
Club. That's probably how they met.
Of course.
And then later on, she would like to play victim, just like, well, I didn't know that it was such a problem. No.
I thought it was powdered sugar and he might, be fat or something.
He was trying to make me a cake. I was his sweet little powdered donut. That was my little pet name. So Ted, he was doing prescriptions and black tar heroin.
Oh, that's why you couldn't tell. Duh.
They're very incognito drugs. But I mean, if you're a junkie, you have to get high all day long. So I don't understand how she didn't know.
Yeah, but he's old and old people take pills all the time. So how are you supposed to differentiate the good ones?
I mean, he just
from the
likes
bad?
Supplements, he's a bodybuilder or something. I don't know what she thought. But I just think from what she had said before, she spent all their time together. Like he was trying to spend every waking moment from the time that they met at Cheetah's, like she said. So how do you not know that he's using heroin all day long? I just don't buy it.
I'm gonna buy it. She's innocent, okay?
You're a better man than me. I'm the skeptic over here.
This is why I get my heart broken. You're just so skeptical.
I'm a red flag kind of person.
I introduce you to people and you're like, I hate them. So they're terrible people. And then 6 months down the line, I'm like, they fucked me over.
I have one question to ask you.
Yes.
Have I ever been wrong?
No. God damn it. Because all you do is win. At life.
I'm a skeptic, but I just really think I want to be around people that I respect.
Of course.
And if I see some bullshit, I'm not going to subject myself to that. And if I see bullshit, I'm going to tell my friend, be like, hey, Kel.
That's bullshit.
Watch out.
And that's why I love you.
I love you too, man.
It's bullshit. You didn't catch it. Ha! Got you.
Well, Sandy apparently didn't catch bullshit either. So she was, dating a junkie for a while. Mm-hmm. and had no idea.
Mhm.
Poor her. In March 1998, the Gaming Commission learned that Ted was associating with a Chicago mobster named Fat Herbie. And Fat Herbie was definitely well known for racketeering and a bunch of, mob activity. The board also suspected that Ted was using his girlfriend Sandy as a bagwoman to deliver money and drugs.
Like in her butt? What is
In
it?
bags.
Like in bags
In
your
bags
butt?
that she would swallow.
Okay.
No, I think
Just-
that he knew that the Gaming Commission was watching him,
Yeah.
and he wanted to get his gaming license back so he could be involved in the casino. So he sent her out on drug runs, and he sent
Crazy.
her out to exchange money with people because he thought that they wouldn't follow her.
Yeah, and she still had no idea.
Right.
She's like, I'm just taking this laundry to this place.
He just really needs things laundered a lot. So during the trials to appeal the gambling board's decision, Ted testified that his positive drug tests were a result of Sandy using marijuana and cocaine around him.
Everyone always goes straight to weed.
Right? It's the scapegoat for drugs.
Well, that's funny because we found black tar heroin. So maybe when you add weed plus coke, you get heroin.
I mean, really,
Science.
it's a recipe for junk, you know? So let's see. I lost my place, and then I read the next line and laughed.
I was like, yeah, marijuana and coke, or marijuana and...
Sandy took the stand in the trials and pled the fifth.
F-I-F.
That's exactly what I wrote on my paper. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why I just saw it and laughed.
You're my favorite.
You complete me, man. So the Gaming Commission saw right through this, of course. You know, marijuana plus cocaine does not equal heroin, according to the Gambling Commission.
I've tried.
Can't blame a man for trying. So they voted unanimously to permanently revoke Ted's license, and he officially lost it.
He's fucking 86.
Yeah, done. Straight donezo. So Ted Binion was the first person to lose his license for violating a Nevada regulation banning gambling license holders from associating with known criminals. This was the first case that someone associated with mob members just completely lost their license. So in 1998, Ted was forced to sell his 20% share in the Binion's Horseshoe, and his siblings took over control of the casino. Ted was ordered to never be associated with the family business again. And of course, being exiled from the casino and what he had spent decades building sent Ted into a very awful downward spiral.
And you're a drug addict? Like, that's tough, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. So he isolated in his home and he went on pretty epic drug binges. His relationship with Sandy turned violent, and people say that they recall seeing both of them with bruises and scratches and stuff like that. Sandy referred to the beatings as her, quote, punishment, and Ted often bought her a lot of expensive gifts, and people knew that that was because they were fighting. I know, it's sad.
Like Tiffany's or
A car, actually.
Oh, fucking better. Never mind. Fuck my Tiffany's.
Yeah, I think he bought her a Porsche at one point, a lot of jewelry, a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And people knew, you know, he would say, like, both of them were sad, and then all of a sudden she'd show up with a new car.
She's like, no, it's fine. He's sorry.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. I feel bad. While Ted was spiraling out of control, he also had to oversee severing ties with the family business, like monetarily and all the paperwork and stuff. And he was kind of in no condition to do so. One of the last things that he had to do to sever ties with the business was either sell or relocate everything that he kept in the casino vault. Ted kept his silver, like big bricks of silver and coin collection at the Horseshoe in this huge underground, like floor to ceiling vault located in the basement. And from what I understand, one of the things that Robert said when he sent a message about this case was that in the court proceedings, they took everybody to see the vault, and it was just pallets of silver and coins as far as you could see. Like a ridiculous amount of silver and coins.
What, are you supposed to just drag it out? He's throw it in a backpack and a JanSport and fucking make 12,000 trips?
No, it's too big for a JanSport. You need like a rolly backpack. Like the cool kids have.
Yeah, like how
you
do
don't
you
want to get a
expect-
shoulder injury from taking all this silver around.
Of course not.
You know? So for help with this relocation project, Ted enlisted the help of a man that he met at a urinal. Ted and 33-year-old Rick Tabish started chatting in the restroom and found that they both shared an interest in Montana.
This is the weirdest. Hey man, you got a pretty nice dick, huh? You like Montana? Yeah.
Hey, your dick looks like it's from Montana.
Your dick is as flat as the mountains and or plains. What's in Montana? Horses? Is it plains or mountains? Hey, your dick looks like Montana.
Oh God.
That's so weird though. I don't talk to anyone. Like and there's walls between us.
I avoid eye contact in the bathroom. Like I'm not trying to. It's just weird.
I'm like, hey, can you pass me some toilet paper?
There's weird sights and sounds and smells. I'm not trying to just chat it up with people in that situation.
That's fucking weird.
No.
Let alone Montana.
Ted, he had spent like family summers in Montana. I guess they had some property there. So that was like a bonding thing for him. Anybody that he knew that had been in Montana or was from Montana, he would love to talk about it. And so he found out that Rick relocated to Vegas from Montana only a year earlier, and they just became friends.
Do you shake someone's hand when you're at the, like, do you
No,
just...
you shake their dick.
It's a good Montana dick right there.
Right? I could feel it. Veiny. Nice. Montana veins. So I don't know. It seems weird to me, but it seemed normal for Ted. Like he just chatted people up. He was always talking to people all the time. And this came from years of being the face of Binions.
Yeah.
But once he was no longer associated with the Binions, he would just talk to people wherever. He was one of those people. Yeah.
He's just doped up, fucking falling asleep on the urinal.
Yes.
His Montana.
Yeah. Nodding out. Maybe that's how it happened. He nodded out. His head kind of tilted forward. He saw the dick. He's like, that's a Montana dick.
Hey, Montana, I'm awake now. I'm back.
So Ted saw Rick as just like a trustworthy blue collar guy from Montana, but didn't know that Rick Tabish was a hustler and a petty criminal who had come to Vegas looking to really just make easy money.
Because Vegas does not attract people like that at all.
Never. You're never going to find someone like that. The percentages are so low.
So random.
Rick left his wife, 2 children, and some pretty large debts back in Missoula, Montana. But he headed to Vegas and he kind of just never looked back. He never paid off his debts. He didn't contact his family. He just completely started a new life like it was nothing. Rick's father was a wealthy businessman, but Rick expected everything to really come to him easy or free. He really failed at every business attempt he made, and he paid a lot of price for that. When Rick arrived in Vegas, he took out a $200,000 loan and he set up a corporation, and he muscled his way into a construction project by torturing and threatening to kill the other partners. No big deal. That's how I get jobs too.
It's business.
It's just the biz, man.
Why do you think they call it cutthroat?
So Rick also had a record for burglary, but Ted either didn't know all of this was his backstory, or perhaps because he was kind of dealing with mobsters and used to some kind of scandalous types, he didn't really think much of Rick's crimes.
Yeah, who is he to judge?
Yeah, I mean, There's not much information, but it's hard to tell which, because I think to him it probably wouldn't have been a big deal if he knew,
No.
you know? So Ted gave Rick odd jobs, and he used him kind of like a handyman until he had some real construction jobs for him. So when Ted had to move all his silver from the casino vault, he called his friend Rick and he asked him to help with the project.
Rick, do you have a Rolly backpack?
In a pinch, 2 Jansports will work. So Rick built an underground vault in a vacant lot that Ted owned in Pahrump off the main highway leading to Las Vegas. The vacant lot was between a Burger King and a casino, and Ted believed that because it was in plain sight, it would be easier to spot a robbery in progress, so he could just bury all his money there. It's so weird. I can't understand that thought process.
He should put it in his sock like my dad does.
Right? Like, that's how I am. It's like, if I've got $20, I want to
Sock.
feel it. Like, I want to know that it's there.
Tits or socks?
Usually tits, I'll be real. So Rick and his crew moved the treasure and sealed it in this underground vault.
Oh, they moved the treasure?
Yeah. Through the construction of this underground vault, Rick was over at the house a lot trying to coordinate the project with Ted. And you may be able to tell what happened next because it kind of just is like a movie.
They fucked.
Exactly.
Shut up. I was joking.
No.
Oh.
No, not the gay sex.
Oh.
I know. That would have been so much better.
They were building
Actually,
underground sex vault.
Now I'm just disappointed that they didn't fuck. But he fucked Sandy.
Yeah, then whatever. For money. He built him an underground vault. I would
feel
fuck
like that's the plot to a movie.
It is,
You know,
yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know. It just seemed like that's had to be the way it was going.
Of course.
But wishful thinking always hopes for gay sex. You know, I'm a bright side kind of person. I like to see the best in people.
Gay sex, treasure. I mean, it can't get better. It really can't.
Has everything I love. There's money and butt sex.
And bunions.
And minions. And funyuns.
All the nyuns.
This story does have all the nyuns. Rick became close with Sandy through this whole project.
Oh, he fucked Sandy.
And they began having an affair.
Oh.
Yeah, which is disappointing and expected. You know, it's like, yeah, of course.
Not gay enough.
No. I mean, really, for me, nothing's ever gay enough.
Yeah,
I'm all about that life. At the time, Ted and Sandy slept in separate bedrooms, and she had told several people that his drug habit made him unable to perform in the bedroom.
Black tar heroin will do that.
Yeah, really is a boner killer.
Well, that's when he's asleep, you just sit on the face.
I mean, come on, amateur. Sandy barely bothered hiding the affair with Rick. She bought him expensive gifts at Neiman Marcus using Ted's credit card and flew with Rick to Los Angeles, where they registered as husband and wife at a hotel in Beverly Hills.
But they didn't actually get married. They're just like, we're Mr. and Mrs. Rick.
Exactly.
We're registered. Oh, man.
Yeah. So Rick was, of course, lucky to have the financial support from Sandy because in August 1998, Rick was in serious financial trouble. The checks for Rick's business were bouncing all over town. So even though he was able to escape his debt back in Montana, now all the Vegas checks were just starting to bounce. An equipment leasing company had sent a default notice of $67,000. The IRS was demanding back payments of $337,000. His company in Montana had defaulted on a $75,000 loan, and of course, that loan he got for $200,000 from Nevada was due soon as well. So Rick confided in a few friends and business associates that he planned to kill Ted and steal the treasure because he was trying to recruit people to help him do it. I mean, if you're going to do something, you just can't tell anyone.
How about you just steal the treasure? Why do you have to kill someone?
You could really just put some in a Jansport and be gone.
He won't even fucking notice.
He's
so
nodded
much.
off right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. You let him kill himself.
Junkies are pretty oblivious. I can speak from experience.
You could ask him, like, hey, can I have, like, okay, can I have $227,000 for this? And he'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
At the time that the high is hitting right at the right point, just ask the question.
Get them when they're peaking.
One of Rick's friends in Montana, a former Army Ranger named Kurt Gratzer, said that Rick offered him a portion of the insurance money and a new car if he helped kill Ted. First, Rick suggested Kurt use a sniper rifle. Then he asked Kurt to use one of Ted's antique guns from his own collection, and then roll the body in a carpet and dispose of it in a rock crusher.
I like that he's telling the guy in the military how to kill someone.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it's pretty backwards. Yeah, Kurt just needed to be, man, I got this. I am a professional.
Yeah.
I am basically a killing machine. I have practiced this and done drills. That's been my life for years. You don't need to tell me.
Do this every day.
When Kurt shot down these ideas, because he is the professional, Rick suggested that they force him to swallow a lethal combination of heroin and Xanax.
You don't have to force.
He just wants all the drugs, clearly. This is definitely consensual drug use. Yeah. So Kurt called another friend in Montana who was a pharmacist and asked him to research the amount of Xanax needed to have a fatal overdose.
1. Just give him a bottle of booze and 1 Xanax.
Oh, dear. In July and August 1998, Rick and Sandy began spreading the word that Ted's drug habit was getting worse, and numerous people recall them saying that one of these days he was going to overdose. Neither of them had any solutions or info about trying to help Ted or, any sort of rehab. There was just no way out the way that they were selling this sort of idea. He had been using drugs forever, and all of a sudden, July and August, they just told everybody this was the end.
Is it kind of like Lil Wayne? Like, we're just like, okay, he's gonna overdose. Like, we know it.
Yeah.
But can we help? Like,
yeah, he's definitely close and on the edge at any given time. But nobody's really saying, hey, let's send this full intervention.
Yeah.
Intervention.
I want to see the intervention of Wheezy.
Oh, man, that would be amazing. Contrary to the picture that Sandy and Rick were painting by telling everybody he was super close to overdosing, Ted, on the other hand, seemed active. He was really upbeat. He was making plans for the future. So it was pretty weird that they were spreading these rumors when he seemed like he kind of was just this functional drug addict like he always had been.
Or he's like all sober and he's like Rob Lowe from Parks and Recreation where he's just the new me. What do you mean I'm gonna fucking die?
Nothing but bike shorts all day. So in July and August, the same time they were spreading these rumors, he coordinated with his attorneys about trying to get back his gambling license and worked with a real estate broker in an attempt to buy several properties for potential casinos. So this really wasn't a picture of a man that was giving up or that was just holed up in his room doing drugs. Like, he did kind of go on a downward spiral right after the gaming license was lost. But at this point, when they were saying things were so dark for Ted, everything that Ted was doing was saying that he was planning for the future, basically.
He's still ambitious. He's
Yes.
doped up, but he's ambitious.
Yes. So it was just, the two stories didn't really match. He also talked to a journalist about writing a book and a movie script based on the life of his dad, Betty Binion. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that they were saying it was so dark. He also wrote a $1 million check to open a new investment account. In early September 1998, Ted told his sister, a couple friends, and his attorney that he had recently taken an accurate inventory of all his assets, and he figured out that his net worth was over $70 million.
All buried in his backyard.
Right. Yeah, the majority of that is just treasure. It's crazy. So Ted also told a few of those people that he was afraid that Sandy might kill him for his money. When Sandy had become distant and started dating Rick, Ted began to suspect that she was seeing someone. He also believed that she was capable of making an attempt to take all his money. In August, Ted contacted a police sergeant named Steve Huggins because he was concerned about the security of his money. He wasn't sure who, of course, but he thought someone would come after that buried treasure next to Burger King.
Mm-hmm.
So Ted told the Sergeant Huggins that if anything happened to him, the cops needed to go check on that vacant lot in Pahrump and make sure that his silver was protected. Ted said that if he was dead, somebody was definitely coming for his riches. So in early September 1998, Sandy and Rick took another trip together to Beverly Hills, and they stayed in the Peninsula Hotel. While they were in LA, they spoke to a broker in Beverly Hills about selling Ted's silver and coins.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Can he just kick her to the curb?
Right?
He can get other girlfriends.
Yeah.
There are plenty of other strippers out there.
There's plenty of strippers in the sea. So Rick convinced the broker to fly to Las Vegas and to inventory and appraise all the silver with him and Sandy present. So the broker estimated the value at between $5 million and $7 million just from the one vault that they checked. Back at home, Ted was telling people that he thought Sandy was after his money.
As she's getting his shit appraised?
Yes, exactly. He told his maid that he suspected Sandy had taken coins and jewelry from the safe that they had at the home, and he even emptied bullets from his gun, saying that he didn't want Sandy to use them on him. On September 16th, 1998, Ted called his attorney and asked for Sandy to be taken out of the will. The attorney, of course, began working on amending the documents, but the phone call really wasn't enough to finalize the changes of a will. You would need something done in person, a signature, notarized, whatever, you know?
What if you just say, these hoes ain't loyal? That was the magic word.
I'm pretty sure that's enough to amend a will.
No,
These hoes ain't loyal. So the morning of the next day, September 17th, Sandy called the maid and told her, Ted isn't feeling well, don't come into work today. Around noon, Ted's real estate broker called, and Sandy said that Ted was still asleep and that he couldn't be woken up. The landscaper showed up that afternoon and said that the house seemed kind of odd, because it was the very first time that he had ever seen the drapes closed at the house. The landscaper had recalled that Ted always liked the light coming through the windows. He'd worked for him for years, and this was the first time that every single window was pretty much blocked off. Phone records show that Rick and Sandy called each other all day on September 17th. 8 minutes after their last phone call, Sandy called 911. When the ambulance arrived, they found Ted unresponsive on the floor in the living room. He was on this small mat that almost looks like kind of a yoga mat in the middle of the room, and there was on one side a pill bottle, and on the other side there was heroin. Upon discovering Ted, the police treated the scene as an accidental overdose and not as a crime scene, which is an important distinction. So there was really no worry about preserving the scene and collecting evidence. Police reports at the time indicated, quote, absolutely no evidence to suggest foul play.
Because the drugs did it.
Right. There's drugs at the scene, so that's what it had to be. The home and the scene were not taped off. No evidence was bagged and tagged. Nothing was fingerprinted.
People are just stepping on heroin left and right, jumping
Yes.
over the body, sneezing on things.
And one of the things that's interesting is, I don't know, to me, I mean, I've been known to do some drugs. You've been known to do some drugs.
No, don't fucking say that. What are you talking about?
The scene, if you see pictures, is extremely clean. It doesn't look like he's been using drugs. It looks like one bottle of pills, one little thing of heroin.
It's just like perfectly neat when there should be
Yes.
fucking Funyuns all over your face. and
Exactly.
Your pants should be down, and then
when
should
you're using drugs, you look like you're using drugs.
be hanging from the closet. You
I
know?
mean, for real. You look like you've been doing some shit.
Yeah. And then in between doing that shit, you're masturbating.
Exactly. Your dick should be out.
Always.
Yeah. So I don't know, just as someone that is looking at it with a skeptical eye and that has done some drugs,
Yeah.
it just doesn't look right.
And that's why cops should do drugs.
I mean, they would just know from experience.
Like, this isn't right.
Be like, hey, wait a minute. This isn't a drug scene. It's just clean. It just looks like someone placed shit there.
It's like an unopened pack of cigarettes, like on his body. Like, no, nothing's fucked up. Yeah.
I mean, really, it was like that.
He looked showered.
Exactly. It's so weird. It's so weird. But of course, the Binion family immediately believed that it was a homicide. So even the police, though they didn't treat it as such, there was a lot of people that saw what you and I would see at that scene and thought that something was pretty questionable.
And he's been telling people, like, hey, if I die.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah, what?
When you look at the scene, first of all, Ted was never known to sleep on the floor. So it was weird that he just kind of set up this mat and laid down on it. Also, the entire room, the rest of it was just clean, like I said. Really, there was no mess. There was just, it looked like someone had placed him there. Though there were traces of heroin on a little utensil, there was no trace of the drug on a piece of foil. So if you recall, his drugs of choice were prescriptions and black tar heroin. So when you do black tar heroin, you put it on foil, you light it, and you smoke it.
Wait, can you say that again? I gotta write this down.
Just directions.
1.
I can show you later.
Buy foil.
So it was a little strange. It looked like someone not only had placed the items there, but it was a person that had no knowledge of what it was like to use the heroin. The foil itself was completely clean, which wouldn't happen if you were using it.
It'd be burnt, right?
It would be very burnt. Back in the day, I used to lie and say that I had been reading the newspaper because I had heroin marks on my fingertips.
Wow. And you made yourself look smarter. Oh my
I was like,
God.
it's no big deal. I read.
You're such a dreamboat.
But I mean, really, it was truly like that's one of the things that screamed to me, just like, oh, this isn't the scene of a person that was actively using heroin.
Yeah.
There's nothing was used here. You know, his everything was clean.
How do you OD when you didn't use?
Right? It's crazy. So I don't know. It was just definitely in my mind placed there by someone that had never done heroin before. After Ted's body was removed from the scene, Sandy was wheeled out on a gurney right behind him. She was screaming. She was covering her face. They put her in an ambulance and they took her to the hospital. There's actual footage of it if you wanted to see. The hospital staff and nurses described her crying as, quote, theatrical. Once she was released from the hospital, Sandy immediately reached out to her lawyer, which is, in my mind, kind of odd behavior. That wouldn't be my first phone call. You know, I would want to be consoled by family. I would want to, you know, there's certain people you have to notify and let them know what happened to Ted. But for her, her first call was her lawyer. The day after Ted's death, Sandy and her lawyer went back to Ted's house and made a video taking inventory of the items in his residence.
No.
Yes. On the video, Sandy is frantically pointing out valuables, opening drawers, describing what assets are inside the drawers, and says repeatedly that she's afraid the Binion family will take everything. She appears really angry and agitated, with no hints of grief or sadness or any sort of thing to suggest that she had lost her partner just hours before that.
She's just on video like, dibs, 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 dibs.
Exactly. It's fucking nuts.
Oh, man. Cold.
Yes.
She sounds like the dope fiend.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yes. And one of the things that's striking to me personally about the video is that if you see any interviews ever with Sandy, she does that thing where she has baby voice, where she's like, and I just loved Ted so much. He was my man. And, you know, he just showed up at Cheetah's and we like fell in love. And she's that kind of soft-spoken baby thing, right?
I am rock solid. Rock fucking hard right now.
But although when she speaks like that, she sounds like a naive, very innocent young girl.
Yeah.
In the video is the only time that you see her voice be completely different. To me personally, it sounds like a greedy, calculated OC housewife. She's just walking around the scene trying to get everything she can, kind of the way someone would do in a divorce. She sounds bitter, you know, like she sounds, I don't know, it's just, you would have to hear it, but that was striking to me. It's extremely polar opposite to the way she sounds when she's trying to convince people she's innocent. The same day that Sandy recorded the video, just one day after Ted's death, Rick went to the vacant lot in Pahrump and started taking the silver. Cell phone records show that Rick spoke to Sandy at least 3 times while he was moving the silver that night. An officer out on patrol noticed that there was construction going on in the middle of the night and stopped to question the people that were there. When questioned, Rick said that he was simply following Ted's orders and that Ted wanted him to come get the silver if anything happened to him. And the plan for in the event of Ted's death was Rick was supposed to give the silver to the daughter, Bonnie. When the officer didn't accept that answer and asked him to come in so that they could talk to him, Rick tried to bribe the officer. Rick offered the cop $250,000 if the officer just let them continue their project. The officer didn't buy it, and Rick was arrested and charged with grand larceny. Rick was not in custody for very long, though, because guess who bailed him out?
His mom.
Yeah, Mama Sandy.
Mama Sandy
Sugar
Murphy.
Mama Sandy. So Sandy offered up her Mercedes and 5 pieces of jewelry as collateral and bailed Rick out. For months after, the Binion family questioned the circumstances of Ted's death, and they suspected foul play, like I said, from the beginning. They maintained that his demeanor leading up to the crime didn't really indicate that he was in a bad situation, and the crime scene looked staged. They hired a private detective and offered a reward for any information. The DA had an additional expert take a look at the medical examiner's reports from the autopsy and determined that the amount of drugs in Ted's system would not have been a lethal amount. The expert also provided some information that it is almost impossible to die from smoking heroin.
What?
Right, which I didn't know.
New year, new me, Brianna. Fucking let's do this.
Taking up some new habits.
Almost impossible. They say the same thing about weed.
Yeah,
As-
except for I believe it with weed. That's the difference. Yeah, I've had some minor ODs on heroin.
Some
I
close
feel like
calls?
you can kind of feel like you're dying. I don't know, man. I find that hard to believe. I still need to read more into that.
You're wrong. So the scientist said it. Weed plus coke equals heroin. So.
I'm learning a lot of new recipes today. Additionally, the drugs that were in his system were actually in his stomach contents. Okay? So meaning he ate the heroin.
They like put it like when you give a dog a treat and you hide it in a
Rolled it in peanut butter. And again, just like, pro drug addict tips, this is a complete waste of heroin. If you eat heroin, you do not get high. So no heroin addict would ever do that.
Yeah, it just doesn't make
any sense. So this was definitely considered mysterious circumstances, There was no reason for heroin to be in his stomach and not in his bloodstream,
Mm-hmm.
There were also mysterious bruises around his mouth and on his chest. 9 months after Ted's death, the autopsy report was changed from accidental overdose to murder. It's murder. Rick and Sandy were arrested and charged with Ted's murder. The trial, of course, got a ton of publicity, and both Sandy and her lawyer did interviews. All of Vegas was paying attention to the coverage since Ted was basically Vegas royalty. Sandy and Rick flirted openly in court. They flashed each other smiles and even touched each other at a couple points on the arm and the hand and stuff. The evidence in the case was solely circumstantial, since there was no forensics collected at the scene. During the trial, the DA played a video of Sandy at her home the day after Ted's death. The defense used the video to argue that there were other people out for Ted's money, including his own family. However, the prosecution argued that this was clear evidence that she had cared more about possessions than her dead boyfriend. The prosecution and the police also believe that the video showed Sandy removing a used wine glass from the kitchen counter and kind of putting it into her purse.
That's my favorite glass. That's my glass.
Right?
I bought that with my own money.
So they argued that this footage was her, of course, trying to dispose of evidence. The working theory is that that was the glass that they put heroin in.
How the fuck do you not see heroin in a wine glass?
I mean, really.
Isn't that hard to swallow?
Yeah. And black tar looks, it's like a little like brown taffy or something. You would see a little floaty in there. I don't know how they did this.
Oh, he's probably already doped up. They're like, here, smoke this and then drink this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. He could have been
crazy.
Drunk, like, I don't know, or
so weird.
Xanax or something, and just been really easily suggestive to like, here, drink this, and he doesn't really object.
Maybe they said it was the high pulp wine.
That is the best wine. I need to start buying high pulp wine with little chunks of heroin. It's crunchy. The best wine is crunchy. Oh, the year doesn't really matter. You just want those little crunches.
Just the little...
So they, of course, assumed the wine glass was the murder weapon. But again, no forensics was collected, so we just don't really know for sure. The wine glass was never found, never recovered, and there was no way to test it. The prosecution called a witness named Dana Perry to the stand, who was Sandy's manicurist.
Because she's got the deets.
The manicurist always does. Let me do them nails and get all the hot goss. So the manicurist was one of the many people who recall Sandy saying that Ted was a drug addict who was going to die soon, very specifically. And when he did, she would be with her boyfriend Rick, and they were going to be rich. So the manicurist was kind of one of the star witnesses. However, there were multiple people that had the same exact interaction with Sandy. One of Rick's friends testified that he had bragged about being with Sandy and about how much money he was going to get his hands on after Ted was out of the picture. Sandy and Rick were both found guilty. Sandy was sentenced to 22 years and Rick to 25.
I find that weird. I mean, it's all not circumstantial, kind of, right? It's just hearsay. They could have been that and a video. That's all that they got him on?
Right.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Which is great. I mean, fuck them. So...
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know it's circumstantial, and there's plenty of cases out there where I would just be like, that's not enough.
That's not enough, yeah.
But this one, that's enough. Lock them up. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's so many things. Just the way that they appraised everything and I don't know, the kind of rumors that they were spreading. Even though it's all circumstantial, in my mind, there's nothing that would justify doing that unless you were trying to kill him.
Yeah.
There's no other scenario where that makes sense.
Agreed. And manicurists don't lie. So
it's fact. It's science.
Yeah.
So after she was found guilty, Sandy started studying in the library at the jail and reaching out to celebrity defense attorney Alan Dershowitz, who defended O.J. Simpson. Alan decided to take the case, and an unknown benefactor paid for Sandy's defense.
No way.
Yeah. She's got hoes in different area codes.
Oh,
she
jolly.
works these rich dudes.
Whew.
So during her appeals, the guilty verdict was overturned on a technicality.
Shut the fuck up.
No. It's crazy. The state Supreme Court ruled that the judge made a mistake in not forcing the prosecutors to try an extortion case against Rick separately.
Okay.
The justices said that the extortion evidence against Rick unfairly prejudiced the jury.
She still made that video of an inventory.
They already did. They did so many things.
Yeah,
they still did so many things.
Fuck the extortion case on its own.
Yeah. The Nevada Supreme Court ordered a new trial, which lasted 6 weeks. After deliberating for about 18 hours, the jury found Sandy and Rick not guilty of murder. They convicted them on burglary, grand larceny, and conspiring to commit burglary or grand larceny. But your face, oh my God, I didn't even see your
I'm
face.
so just taken back right now.
I know. Yes. So, not guilty. The unknown benefactor who paid for Sandy's defense helped her get on her feet after the trial and bought her a condo after her release from prison. So the baby voice definitely worked on someone.
Oh my God.
So Sandy came back to Orange County and married an art dealer. She has continued to fight the courts to get Ted's money.
Oh my God.
Yes. And to have the burglary and larceny charges overturned. But she has had no success in those things.
Dude, cash rules everything around me.
Cream, get the money.
Money. Oh, never fall for fucking fringe.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Oh.
Yep.
Do you think they're in LA?
They are. That's the thing, is she's in Orange County.
Oh, she would go to Orange County.
To LA. Yeah.
Fucking bitch.
Yeah, and she's been on, a few news outlets just trying to plead her case of just being like, I'm innocent. I need to have these charges overturned. I'm trying to move on with my life. I'm married to another man now.
Is it illegal to egg someone? I don't fucking... I'm so mad.
I know. So yes, this is me totally editorializing. I understand they were found not guilty. I understand it's not right to just be like, hey, they're guilty. But I'm sorry, they're fucking guilty. They did it. They did it.
They're guilty like OJ. This is just crazy.
Yes.
But they went through the system and just cream.
Money just buys everything.
Fuck, we need to stop being broke.
Money buys innocence. When no money is present, mouth will work.
Take that mouth visa.
Oh
So
my goodness.
Robert, that was great. That was the fucking one.
Yes.
I love Vegas. We need to go to Vegas.
Thank you, Robert, for reminding us how much we love Vegas.
Seriously.
All the crazy shit that happens there.
That's a fucking inspirational ass story though too. Like he really did it. That's crazy.
So nuts.
And
so when are we going to Vegas?
Soon, because we're gonna start stealing suitcases because that's someone put $2 million into a suitcase. Someone was dealing drugs in a fucking duffel bag, and then someone else put $15,000 into a suitcase.
I know, we need to come up on some suitcases.
Stealing all the suitcases.
Yeah. So Vegas soon?
Yeah, let's do
this
it.
weekend?
Totally.
We've been to Vegas together a couple times, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
once
have.
or twice.
Yeah, we listened to David Cross, and you taught me about AMG on the way.
I love AMG.
Yeah, I like how she said that 15,000. Like she's like, "Oh, I'm working as like a dancer to make 15,000." That is a 12-hour shift.
I mean, really.
That's all. She could have been out.
Yeah.
So
I know. Just get out. You got to know when to hold him and know when to fold your stripper heels. Oh,
you
man.
are so wise sometimes. Just fucking.
I'm like the Yoda of strippers.
Did I tell you how lucky I am? I just want to let you know in 2018. So happy to be here. Fucking Obi-Wan.
So I think that's pretty much it
That's
for
good.
V Vice Part 1.
Mhm.
Yeah? I don't remember where I put my phone for our Patreon people, but
Oh.
you are the queen of remembering these things.
We have a Robert. We have a Kat, a Cass, a Chrissy, Tegan, a Bill.
You're just throwing like I think you got one right.
Jamie Kennedy.
Traffic. Looking for my chapstick.
No, but there is a Robert because we've been talking about him.
Yes.
There's two names. Okay, go ahead.
So our Patreon supporters that we wanted to thank were Joe,
Joe,
Kat, Carrie,
Joe, Cat, Carrie. See, that was where Cat, Carrie,
Kat Carrie,
Cat, Carrie,
Jenny,
Jenny,
Carissa,
Charisma,
Robert,
Carissa.
of course,
Robert,
and Rebecca.
and Rebecca.
Yeah.
You guys are the shit.
So thank you so much for your Patreon support.
you.
And once again, of course, thank you to Robert for the awesome case that we
Yes.
got to cover tonight.
And thank you to you for doing all that amazing research and really getting the deets.
It was all Robert.
It was, yeah. I just want to make you feel good for a second, but fuck you.
Thanks, buddy. So, yeah, of course, before we sign off, we should remind you that we've got our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Mhm.
We've got the Patreon, like we talked about, for any small merch items and bonus episodes. And we have Threadless if you want to get mugs and t-shirts. We've been trying to post a couple pictures of the kind of items we have just in case. And man, it's so awesome to see the pictures of people sending them
cool.
back like, look what we got.
And they look so happy.
I know.
No one's crying in one picture.
Once you have our merch, you will not cry. Like, just your tear ducts just seal up.
Yeah, it's just, it happens.
More science.
Is this a science podcast?
Yeah. I mean, I'm changing our little genre
Okay.
right after this.
Ho science.
So I think that's pretty much it. And I guess we will see you next week for Vice Part 2 with more gambling, pornography.
This is a good one. This is my favorite category.
I'm pretty excited. Honestly, I've already started some research. I'm pretty excited for the next one too.
Mine's about LSD.
Yes!
I'm so excited.
So I think that's pretty much
That's
it.
good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want to do some Shake Our Fringe and True Crime and Chill?
Banging this new year?
Yeah.
Fisting style?
I like that you did banging with your fist because that's really the only true banging to me.
Of course, how else do you bang?
Amateurs.
So let's true crime bang and chill.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is Mandy and Melissa from Moms and Murder, a true crime podcast featuring two moms who think they're funny.
Trust us, guys, we are. Join us each week as we discuss both the infamous and unfamiliar stories in the world of true crime.
You can check us out on our website at momsandmurder.com and also connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
We release new episodes on Tuesdays, so we hope you'll check us out.
The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
And now, a thought from Geico Motorcycle.
It took 15 minutes to take a spirit animal quiz online.
Please be the cheetah. Please be the cheetah.
And learn your animal isn't the cheetah, but the far less appealing blobfish.
Oh, come on.
To add insult to injury, you could have used those 15 blobfish minutes